So this is part 11, and I'm doing it while cooking, so then maybe I won't get so emotional. And I need to multitask, okay? So part 10 left off where it was the second time that I asked God to let me die. I felt like that was it. I tried to escape 2 times and it didn't work. And the white light that I seen, oh gosh, chills. It's crazy because the white light that I'm seeing and told them, okay, let me not jump ahead. Let me go back. So I remember ending up in the middle of an intersection. I don't remember going down a bunch of steps. Remember I talked about all those steps that led up to his mom's house? I don't remember going down those steps. I don't remember Nick putting me into a shallow grave. I don't remember any of that. I just remember kind of floating. I seen a white light and a little girl with pigtails like this going. And I just remember floating, and it was a lot of white light. I don't know if that's something that's common, that people who, I don't know if you want to say crossover or if that's an in-between space, what that is. But I know that's what I see. And then there were 2 men, and I must have still been able to see a little bit, or maybe not, maybe it was just their voices. Well, no, because I remember that they were working on their cars. I don't know if that's what I seen or what I heard or what they told me later what they were doing. I do remember being in an ambulance. I remember them yelling. I remember them stopping traffic because he lived at an intersection, stopping traffic. Remember, this is close to lunchtime when this is happening because it happened from like 11 to 11:37 a.m. Don't judge me on no cooking right now, y'all. I'm not cooking this for you, so please don't judge me on no cooking right now. I got, if you're wondering, it's okra and onions in here, and I got food in the oven. I remember being in the ambulance, and I feel like that's when I blacked out. Because in the ambulance, and let me give you a time frame, this is before noon. My mom, fast forward, tells me later that she was out pacing because it was weird to her. Remember I told you she called during the attack, but the phone was off the hook. She didn't know what was going on. The phone was off the hook. So she said she was out pacing and something was on her heart. I guess a mother's heart. The mother-daughter connection. She said she was out pacing. And she said they called her to the phone and told her, you have a phone call. I think this had to be after 12 at some point. I don't even remember how they got my mama's number from me, if it was in my phone. Yeah, I don't remember any of that. But what I do remember, I don't remember the hospital. I don't remember seeing anybody. So I remember busyness around. And the main thing I remember is, why is there so much dirt on her? Why is there so much dirt on her? There was busyness. And then I remember no one really doing much to me. I remember darkness, probably because my eyes at that point were swollen shut. I don't remember anybody's face. No nurse, no nobody. I remember being in an area that did not feel like a room. Maybe it just was in my mind. I was in a dark place. But when I heard my mother's voice, she screamed. And my mom told me when they called her, I guess the emergency room, whatever, they told her I'd been beat up really bad. So she told me she was not expecting to arrive and see me the way she seen me. I was hoping to get my mom to give you the mother's perspective. I don't know. She couldn't even watch these. She couldn't even watch them because I'm sharing stuff that I've never shared. Even when I publicly spoke about my attack, I've never shared a lot of these details. So she said, oh, wait a minute, make sure I move my okra before I got some burnt okra. I don't want to have no burnt okra. She said she came in and she screamed. She was like, she thought bruises, not stabbed up. She said I was laying on the table, and she said, why is there so much dirt? Why is there so much dirt? I remember her yelling, and I remember me saying, Mom, like, I have no concept of time. But what I do know is, once my mom arrived, they started working on me. They thought, I found out later, I was a drug addict because he had injected me with heroin. He had been using drugs. So when he was going through this whole withdrawal and depression from a 6-week relationship, which clearly was rooted in other stuff. He injected me with drugs he already was using, which explains why in court it's what got him diminished capacity, because his boss was saying he was acting weird at work. I think his mother said at one time he was peeing and pooping in his room. I'm like, is that the room he was torturing me in? I don't remember that. So my mom worked for the state. I'm in Pennsylvania. You know, when you're back then, you worked for the state, you had good insurance. My dad worked for Amtrak. My dad was a conductor for Amtrak since the 70s when they wasn't hiring for Amtrak. So my parents had good insurance. So my mom showed up with both them cards. Like, why is she back here laying on her and nobody's taking care of her? But because back then, we're talking 1997, I'm in Paterson, New Jersey. A lot of drugs in Paterson, New Jersey. They were treating me, this is another layer to the story, treating me like I was a druggie. Not that they should be treated any differently, but it lets you know that they do, because that's what they thought. Now, remember how I looked. Hold on, let me get the picture. Remember how I looked. This is how I looked 6 days after, because my mother, no matter how much I begged her to take pictures, she didn't. I don't know if the detectives took pictures. I don't know any of that. This is how I looked 6 days after. So this is me cleaned up. This is me cleaned up 6 days after. The ring light's on. 6 days after. So imagine how I looked when they got me in the ambulance and I'm covered in dirt, and this is me cleaned up. This is 6 days after. This is after I'm released from the hospital. You can see the fan. I was probably stopped back by my apartment before they took me back to Pennsylvania. So, if that was how I look cleaned up, then they get me at the ER and they find drugs in my system. And also, how are they treating it when they find out I'm a druggie? I don't know if they knew it was intimate partner violence. At that time, we called it domestic violence. I remember being put in a room. I don't know if it was that night. I remember them covering the mirror or removing the mirror. Mom, you have to remind me. Because they didn't. I was like, let me see my face. My daddy always taught me, don't you ever, when you fight, let nobody mess up your face. Okay? Now, what he did during the time of torturing me, we kept discovering wounds in the hospital bed. And remember, the next day they would come in and go, wait a minute, what is this on your neck? They were so incompetent, I guess, in examining me, didn't examine, and you can't really see them anymore. I had so many puncture wounds and dirt covering them. And I remember at one point, let me go back, on this bed in whatever room in the ER or whatever room they had me in, where they told me, this is going to burn. We got to clean you off, because some of the potting soil and things that he used had bugs in it. So there were bugs getting in, and you seen the scar on my leg, right? How big, I'm trying to take the pictures out, how big this gash was. Now, this is 3 to 4 weeks later. My leg was busted wide. They could barely get this closed, right? So it was bugs and stuff in my scars, in my wounds. I wasn't even a scar then because it wasn't healed. And I remember whatever they poured on me, y'all nurses, y'all medical in the ER, it burned. And I remember yelling. I'm not gonna cry tonight, y'all. I got my lashes done again. It burned. I couldn't see nothing. It burned. Whatever they were pouring over me, I guess to disinfect me, because they couldn't scrub the wounds because things are open. He slit my neck. He slit my wrist. These were things he was doing, torturing me during that 37 minutes when I was in and out of consciousness. The stabs here were when I tried to escape. This scar down my leg, that was, remember I told you, I felt and watched him do that. My back, look, my back, that was him when I was trying to get out of the door. The lip, him doing this to my lip and me having